ReImagining Retirement, Considering Retirement Options, a Personal Experience by Bob Vahsholtz. After 3 decades in our lovely retirement home on California's Central Coast, the last thing we wanted was to leave. Whenever we returned from a trip, we'd sit on the patio with coffee and ask ourselves, why do we ever leave this beautiful spot? After seeing as much of the world as we wished, home felt awfully good. Our house on a hill in the country, close to nice towns, included a big loft for inside projects and a barn for messy projects. We'd chosen the location for its near-perfect weather, privacy, and plenty of room on our own fenced acreage. That was a high cost of living area, but the mortgage was paid off, taxes were reasonable, and there was a nice big private apartment where tenants shared our tranquil environment. It provided significant income and someone to look after things when we traveled. We had plenty of applicants, screened carefully, and paid them to help around the homestead. A great idea we'd perfected from the early days when we'd been the tenants in just such a situation. Bottom line, we lived in paradise and the cost was quite reasonable. Perfect, ... until one day, all those stairs, bathrooms, lawns, trees, and management issues began to overwhelm us. To deal with our aging backs and knees, we hired gardening and housekeeping help, but finding and keeping good help proved about as tedious as doing the work ourselves. The challenges mounted as our ages advanced and health declined. Life was great in our 50s, fine in our 60s, manageable in our 70s, but the 80s? A new ball game. Good exercise became hard work, no longer so satisfying. We spent some years pondering all that. We had lots of options, and the last thing we wanted to do was to leave our happy home. We considered, number one, hiring professional services, such as Merry Maids for housework and similar services for gardening. Number two, finding independent contractors to perform all such services. Number three, seeking a practical nurse or couple, providing them our apartment, employing them more or less full-time. Number four, remodel our house to live on just one floor, reserving upstairs for guests. And number five, rent out the house and move into our apartment. And many variations of those themes. Something along those lines had been our plan when we bought that place. It's nice to have such options available. Yet experience taught us most tenants and hired services move on. Service workers change jobs, start families, divorce, or whatever, and they're gone. That kind of turnover happens with both service companies and contractors. We'd experienced plenty of it with tenants and service workers, and we had our fill of constant turnover and training newcomers to work comfortably with us. Then, just when things began going well, we'd be seeking replacements. Our home required a wide range of services, most of which we'd enjoyed providing for ourselves, but hiring them done became tedious. And we still had good health. Imagine adding nurses and other health specialists to the list as our health declined. What about the day we became too old to drive? We were sure of two things. First, we'd seen the yoke aging parents can place on their kids, and we didn't want to be a burden to anyone. Second, we'd seen far too many aging grandparents and other relatives miserable in nursing homes and other retirement places. Not for us. When a neighbor's husband died and her health was failing, her family urged Jenny to move to a local retirement community. The reluctant widow shared our view of such places, but could not cope on her own. She finally consented, insisting on keeping her home to come back when she felt better. We visited her at her new digs and found she'd soon settled down and actually enjoyed the community. Other friends made similar choices and were happy. With impending health issues, we rethought our own situation. Cost, of course, is always a consideration. The monthly fee of the better retirement communities is scary. They point out that one bill covers all basic living expenses, but are those promises credible? Having good records of our living costs over the years, plus the experience of friends like Jenny to rely on, we were able to determine her nice community was affordable, and our house was surely too big. After checking out other local choices, we decided we'd sell our home when the time came and move to a 2-bedroom apartment in Jenny's retirement community. At Thanksgiving, we announced our decision to the kids, who heartily agreed. Our son and his wife suggested we consider the state of Washington, which they'd chosen some years earlier for their own retirement. They made good points. We visited 10 more retirement communities in Washington, narrowing our choice down to 2, both on the Olympic Peninsula. The deciding factor between them, both offered independent living as well as assisted living options, but in one, the choice could be made at any time while remaining in the same apartment. We'd moved too many times in our careers and didn't want to face another move down the road. That choice made, we got on the waiting list for the floor plan we wanted. When our name came up, we made a deposit, sold our house, and moved to Washington. We're in our mid-80s now and have lived here nearly 3 years. Is this place perfect? Heck no. There are no problems and unhappy residents, but that's life. Or actually, it says there are problems and unhappy residents, but that's life. If we had to do it over, there are things we do differently, having learned much from our shopping experience. Bottom line though, we're confident we made the right choice. We found a good home, and to our pleasant surprise, our cost of living is lower than expected. We're never bored and spend our time as we choose. It's pretty neat to have others sweat all the details while we're served 3 squares, are protected from the pandemic, and waited upon by friendly people.